sir. Just what are we facing here?
A relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain. We will only get one chance. And remember, when you hear the whispers, call for help. Do not attack!
When you hear the whispers, what do you think he was on about?
It's Dorman, right?
Yeah?
Then Dorman. Shut your damn mouth. Ugh, why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, the kid's got a mean cleave. Give him a chance.
Quiet.
Hmm? Sullen!
A mean cleave, eh, Captain? Rookie can't even lift his own sword. Captain Oren? Captain? It's here. Rain! Send the signal!
What the fuck?
Rain! On my back, blade up!
Come on! I'm ready! I'm ready! It's a man!
No, it's not. Run.
Captain! Captain!
Why are you here? What is this? Stop! Humanity isn't ready.
On your feet, lad.
Sir, the captain,
You'll be fine. Here.
What is this?
Get the body.
Stop. Mortal. It can still be contained. You don't know what you have unleashed.
Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him! Feed. Grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Path of Exile 2 is going into early access in around 2 weeks on December the 6th. But even though it's early access, this isn't just some small taste. The game is huge. In this livestream, we're going to be introducing everything you can expect. So without further ado, let's roll the gameplay trailer.
Existence is a thing of beauty, precious, but impermanent. Life and death are mortal enemies, and yet bound to one another. The continuation of life must be protected at all costs. Some have said, my methods are brutal. To this, I say, there can be no salvation without sacrifice. We are faced with the end, and I will do what I must. Those who obsess with death, let them soon be acquainted with it.
Now, as you just saw, even in early access, Path of Exile 2 is a big game. It's actually been 5 years since we announced POE2, and over that time we've revealed a lot, but it's been in bits and pieces. It's pretty hard to keep track of it all, so today we're going to do a full rundown of all the content that will be available at the start of early access. Classes, character progression systems, and for the first time, a full overview of the end game. This is going to be a big one, so get comfortable. For 20 years, Rayclast has been free from any sources of corruption, but the Count of Ogham, tempted by promises of power, intends to harness it once more. The dead are rising, monsters are mutating, and madness is spreading. Under the dark influence of corruption, the Count doles out sentences of death to any who would question him. And this is where you find yourself at the start of POE2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham. Desert. And delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Vaal city. There are challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations. But first, you'll need to pick a class. Now, early access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat, and his mechanics involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in POE2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in POE2. You can choose an existing...
아니 왜 이렇게 버퍼링이 생기는 거야? 버퍼링 중인가요? 설정의 고급 메뉴에서 짧은 지연 시간 모드를 해제하라고? 이거 나만 거는 거야? 뭐야? 왜 이러는 거야? 야, 제가 하도 많이 봐가지고 이런가 보다. 얼마나 사람들이 많이 보면은 이렇게 이 정도야?
Sir, just what are we facing
어,
here?
씨.
Precious. Those who
power and tends to harness.
빨리 하나 보다.
There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing where you find yourself at the start of POE2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham,
제 컴퓨터
traverse the
문제인 줄
barren
알았어.
plains of the Vasteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city. There are challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses. No two areas are the same. It falls to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations. But first, you'll need to pick a class. Now, Early Access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in POE2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in POE2. You can choose an existing skill to level up, or choose to engrave a new one. Since this is a level 7 skill gem, even if you pick a new skill, it will immediately be level 7, so there's no harm in trying out something new. The Monk primarily uses the quarterstaff. There are 3 schools of martial arts: lightning, ice, and wind. But don't think you have to stick to just one. The best combos are going to involve mixing elements of all 3. Let's try Killing Palm. Like many monk skills, this can be used to quickly take advantage of a specific situation. If there's an enemy on low life, you can use Killing Palm to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will provide a power charge. Then we could use a different skill to consume that power charge for a much more devastating attack. The Monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonating bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to all enemies around it. You can also do things like freeze or shock the bell, which will add elemental damage to the strikes. The monk also has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing projectiles and obliterating screens of enemies with huge combo attacks. Now, if you like a style of melee that's a little slower but hits much harder, then the warrior is for you. He pounds the ground with big chunky attacks and can shrug off the hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor. Even though the mace slams are slow, you never lose control. Longer attacks can be retargeted as you go, and if you find yourself committed to a long attack, you can dodge roll out of it at any time.
스킵이 되네.
Among the
스킬이.
skill option for maces, you will find a variety of slams, fire attacks, war cries, and shield skills. Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire. Any slam skill will then cause these fissures to erupt with lava. I can even run through them with a skill like Stampede to do huge amounts of damage. The warrior can also use war cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack. The Stampede counts as a slam, so I can double that for even more craziness. If you want to go a little faster and be a little more defensive, equip a shield. In POE2, you can raise your shield at any time to block all damage from the front, even
블락하는 것도
spells.
이렇게 나오네.
While holding up your shield, your stun meter will build as you take damage, so be careful. If it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable. Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this red flash. If you see one of these coming,
막기가
make sure to
진짜
dodge out of the way.
현실적인데 이거
Using a shield
뭔가?
also gives you access to shield skills, like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemies and stun them.
와.
While charging, you're also blocking the whole time, so you have full damage immunity from the front. The warrior also has access to totems.
방패돌진이
Some totems have
약간
built-in
디테일해졌다,
abilities, like
이게.
Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks like those from the earthquake. But you can also get Ancestral Warrior Totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that it's a skill you can put other skills into. I can take a slam like Sunder and socket it into my Ancestral Warrior Totem. Now when I summon him, he'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance.
아,
There are
저게
20
이제
active skills for maces,
이제
so there's a lot more to try out.
토템이네.
But by
토템.
endgame, you're going to be dropping hammers from the sky, leaping fearlessly
토템이
into
원래
combat,
있었다가
and separating the
사라졌으면
very
다시
earth you
나오는
stand
거야.
on. Time for
이렇게
some
보니까
ranged attacks.
밀리 좀
The ranger is primarily
괜찮은데?
about the bow, but we wanted to make sure that she feels agile as well. In POE2, you can shoot while moving. Combined with all the skills the ranger has that allow you to jump around, you will have a lot of mobility in combat. Bow skills have a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks. Lightning attacks bounce around between targets. You can also stick lightning arrows in the ground which explode when hit by the bouncers, or electrocute enemies to take them out of combat. Ice attacks allow you to slow and freeze enemies to keep them away from you. Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar, but also grow some
활쟁이가
interesting
무빙샷이
plants.
된다는 거는 생존이 엄청
With
도움이
21 bow
된다는
skills and all the mobility and combo tools the ranger has, you can take advantage of every situation.
도플.
By endgame, you'll be creating hundreds of arrows, be they falling from the sky, bouncing around between enemies, or spraying out of tornadoes.
우와. 잠깐.
You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different.
되게
In
화려하다.
POE2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot. Flasks gain charges as you kill enemies, and typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times if they're
두
full.
개만 사용하나?
But that's not the only thing you can use charges for. Charms are a new item type that will automatically defend you from various debuffs or damage
아,
types.
플라스크를 많이
Having
안
trouble
쓰고
with getting frozen?
차원을
Equip a
대신해서
thawing charm.
사용하는
When
그런
it's
거네.
fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze for 3 seconds if you get frozen. To recharge them, just kill more monsters. You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt.
벨트를 끼냐에 따라서
The
달라지는
mercenary wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different ammo types, offering versatility, power, and mobility. All classes in Path of Exile 2 can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter. For the crossbow, you
확실히
will find
이번에
skills that look
머셔너리
like
하시는 분들
shotguns,
많겠다.
sniper rifles, assault rifles, and even grenade launchers. But not only that, there are a wide variety of more interesting elemental ammos too. It's very fast to switch between ammo types, so long as you already have them loaded, which makes the mercenary able to combo abilities together for devastating effect.
확실히 좀 스타일리시하네.
Use Glacial Bolt to create walls of ice to separate enemies, then switch to Fragmentation rounds to explode the ice, dealing massive AoE damage. If I come across an armored enemy, I could use armor-piercing rounds to break their armor, and then high-velocity rounds to take them down. Or perhaps I could fire a gas grenade to poison enemies before detonating the cloud with an explosive shot for massive damage. If you want to call in some suppressing fire, you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum range, so you'll want to prepare your position carefully before moving in. There are 22 active skills for crossbows. By endgame, you'll be calling destruction down from the sky as you litter the battlefield with grenades and pepper your enemies with your automatic shotgun. If you're looking to take a back seat and let your minions do the work, then the witch should be your choice. She can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her while casting powerful chaos spells that debilitate her enemies. Occult skills are some of the most varied in the game, with skeletons, noxious spells, specialty minions, curses, and sacrificial magic. Before we talk about minions, we'll have to talk about a new resource in Path of Exile 2 called Spirit.
인벤은 뭐 그대로 가는
This
거야.
is a spirit gem, which allows you to pick from a range of persistent skills. All classes have a variety of these skills which can add some very interesting effects, like Arctic Armor, which does cold damage to enemies that hit you, or Raging Spirits, which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a fire spell.
이게 소서?
For the Witch, though, we'll want to be using our Spirit to create
야, 저
permanent
소환수
minions.
같은 건 뭐야?
These minions will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time.
얘가 이제 내
Here, I'm using the skill screen to allocate which minions I would like in my horde. You can see the spirit cost of each one. Skeletal warriors are cheap, but weak. Useful for tanking damage and distracting enemies.
이제 이번에 새로
But I
나온
want more heavy
시스템이
hitters in my army. So I'm going to unsummon some warriors and instead add skeletal arsonists.
그리고 소환수도 이제
Permanent
저
minions
영혼으로
come with special
전멸해서
active
마리수를
abilities
늘리는
called command skills. You can order these guys to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If you want a bigger army, you'll need a scepter. This new weapon type is
그리고
imbued
이제
with even more spirit,
무기에도
allowing you to summon even
소환수가
more friends.
추가되는 그런
And if you
스킬
want an even bigger army than that,
이 따로
you can take
붙는
advantage of
그런
corpses to summon true
무기가
hordes of
전용 무기가
minions.
또 나오더라고요.
But what can a witch do while her army is at work? Well, she has a range of chaos spells to spread disease amongst your enemies, or bone skills to impale them. Or, you could
맥크도
curse
인기
them to make
많아.
them weaker so your horde can take them down. There are 25 active occult skills. By the endgame, you will be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in
근데
its
저거
path.
POE1의 스킨 입히면은 소환수들
The sorceress bends the elements to her will, using them to unleash devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental magic
얘가
from
이제
afar.
소서.
The elemental
와,
skills have
은근히
everything you
빠르다,
might expect
무빙샷이.
and more. Fireballs, icy explosions, lightning storms, you get the idea. Each spell is unique and has many different ways to build and combo with others, even between different elements. For example, Flame Wall conjures a burning line that not only damages enemies, but also
Yeah,
empowers
fire
all
wall.
projectiles that pass through it. If you place a wall and fire lightning sparks through it, you'll gain extra fire damage.
와 이거는 방금 보니까
It's a good idea to take advantage of the
화염벽에다가
ability to
라이트닝을
automatically swap
쏘니까
weapons when you use certain
라이트닝이
skills.
화염
Having a
스킬이
special staff with bonuses to
추가돼가지고
fire
나가네.
skills and another with bonuses to lightning skills
약간
can really
이속성으로
power up a
나가는
combo
건가
like this. The sorceress can also take advantage of powerful trigger gems. For example, you could grab the Cast and Ignite gem and use it
이렇게
with
약간
Firestorm.
스킬
As you ignite enemies, a
연계된 게
counter will
많다.
go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a firestorm will automatically be cast at the enemy that was ignited. There are 25 active elemental skills. By endgame, you'll be firing off projectiles left and right as you rain down elemental storms
소스도
on your
엄청 좋아
foes.
보이는데?
Now, those are the characters
그거
that will be
아시죠?
available at the start of early
POE는
access.
기본적으로
But we will be adding 6 more character classes with just as many skills and
사용하는
options as
빌드 중에
these.
이제
There's a lot more to come.
스펠 빌드가 제일 짱이라는 거.
There's one more important thing to
초반에
mention about
육성하기가.
skills. Even though we talk about them as belong to each class, in reality there are no restrictions. You can use all these skills on any class so long
약간
as you have the attributes.
직업별 스킬이
For example,
나눠지는 게
a
아니라
poison ranger might
무기별로
want to
스킬이
try out using
나눠져요.
occult
POE
curses to
POE
increase her
POE
poison damage.
무기별로.
Or a monk might want to trigger elemental ice walls to use with his glacial cascade combo. The possibilities for cross-class combos are practically unlimited. We're looking forward to what kind of things you guys might find.
캐릭터들이 다.
Now, Path of Exile is
다
a game
재밌어
known for
보이네.
build customization, and we haven't even
아니, 저
scratched the
몽크
surface of
스킬이잖아.
what is possible yet. So let's talk about support
이야.
gems.
몽크의 종을 세운
Path of
다음에
Exile 2 is a system
머셔너리로
of support gems that can be combined with your active skills to dramatically change the way they work. If you find a support gem, then right-clicking it will open up
이게
the screen.
POE만의 매력이죠.
Here you will find a
한
variety of
직업군으로
recommended
다른
support
직업군의
gems for each of your
스킬도
skills that
사용할 수
you can pick between. For example, this is a multiple projectiles support gem and can be used to add multiple projectiles to any skill. Normally, when you fire a grenade, it'll look like this. But if we add multiple projectiles, then you get 3 of them. Once you have the gem, you can also freely move it between any of the skills in your character. If you want to have a multi-shot sniper rifle instead, then simply move the gem over to your high-velocity round skill. Generally speaking, if it sounds like a support gem should work with a skill, then it will work. So it's a good idea to experiment. Note that you can only have one of each support gem on your character, so you'll want to think carefully about which supports can be used best with each skill for
야,
maximum
확실히
damage.
이제 여러 가지 스킬을
Now,
내가
if you want to stick to the
다
recommendations,
링크로
you should have a
만들어서
perfectly
사용할 수
good
있다는
time.
게 큰
But if you want to
장점이겠죠.
experiment a bit more, then uncheck that recommended button and you can see the full list of supports that will work with your skill. There are hundreds of support gems to choose from,
종류가 진짜
and even
많죠.
we don't know the results of all the possible ways these can interact. Each skill can have up to 5 supports socketed into it, and if you're clever, you can come up with some pretty interesting ideas. Now all of this is just scratching the surface.
이제
You
보조잼
can make
같은
frost
경우에는
vortexes, break
잼을
people's armor, make
먹어야
minions
된다.
explode, make skills repeat,
기본적인 스킨, 액티브는
enemies set each other on
제공이
fire,
되고
cull enemies or pin them to
보조는
the ground.
이제 구매하거나
Supports that you
먹어가지고
drastically change the
연결시키는
behavior of your
그런
skills and create your own unique build, or at least follow someone's OP build guide. So, speaking of builds, let's talk about one of the most
야,
iconic
패시브
Path of Exile
스킬 트리?
systems, the passive skill tree. Yes, it's huge. There are over 1,500 nodes on there. Now, a lot of people open the tree and can get a little intimidated at first,
이렇게 보면 되게
but try
복잡해
not to be
보이죠?
scared. There are lots of
확실히
options,
원
but at
때보다는
its
더
core, it's
복잡해진 것
pretty
같긴 해.
simple. Each level you get 1 point to put into the tree. Each
근데
class starts
저게
at a
또
different location, but they all share the same tree.
정해진 답이 없다는 게
Around
재밌어요.
your section of the
정해진
tree,
답이
you'll find
없다는 게.
relevant bonuses for your character. You should be safe in the knowledge that there aren't many wrong choices
저
here.
노드를 어떻게
Almost all the
찍느냐에 따라서
starting nodes will
캐릭터가
be useful for your
완전히
character in
천차만별로
some way.
바뀌거든.
But if you do happen to make a choice you regret, you'll be able to respec any nodes you've taken by spending a little bit of gold.
이제 골드 소모에서 패시브 스킬 트리 이제
Now, the tree is
초기화시키는
generally divided up into clusters which have similar themes.
기존에는
In each
이제
cluster, you
후에
will find small
오브라는
nodes that give
오브를
simple bonuses like
사용해야지만
increased
가능했는데
damage, but the
이번에
real power
조금
comes from
바뀌었죠. POE
notables.
1 때 칼구루 시즌 때
Notables normally have
시즌
much more
컨텐츠를
interesting
이제 골드를
bonuses,
소모해서
and they tend to care a lot more
이제
about how
후에
your build
오브를
works and what
대체해서
skills you're
패시브
using.
노드를 초기화시키는
For example, in the mercenary area of the tree,
그런 거였는데.
this one gives a 25% chance for crossbow skills to not consume a bolt. And here's one that gives grenades a chance to blow up a second time. This one gives a chance for projectiles to rebound off terrain, as well as giving you some pierce chance to make that more likely. Note that even though this is in the mercenary section,
와,
this would
잠깐만.
work with projectiles from all classes. So there are often
이거는
reasons to go to
무빙샷이
different areas
빠르다.
of the tree.
이게 어떤 특정 노드를
In
찍으면 좀
order to get
빨라지나
between
보네.
these clusters, you will generally have to allocate nodes in the attribute
야,
highways.
이거 꽤
Attribute
스타일리시한데.
nodes allow you to pick which attribute you would like to
처음에
use. So
영상
it's very easy to
공개됐을
get points for
때는
any attribute that your gear
무빙샷이
might
되네.
need.
어
You
근데
can
조금
change which
느리네.
attribute these nodes give you
답답하네.
for half
이런 느낌이
price at the
있었는데
respec vendor. In
이게
addition to
조금 엔드로
notables, you will
갈수록
also find
좀
even
바뀌는 것
larger
같네요.
passives
그런
called
게.
keystones. Keystones have both an upside and a
야, 카오스
downside,
면역
and often
그대로
require changing
들고
your
왔구나.
entire build to design around them. A great
저
example is
노드를-
Giant's Blood,
아니,
which
특정
allows you to
좀
wield two-hand
핵심 코어
weapons in a single
노드들은
hand,
조금
but doubles the attribute requirements.
너무한다 보네.
You can use a two-hand mace with a
CI
shield,
building.
or even dual wield them. Or how about Mind Over Matter, which makes all damage go to your mana pool
MOM도
first
그대로
before
왔고.
your life pool, but you lose 50% of your mana regen. Skills like these can be tough to build around, but if you're up for the challenge, they can be very rewarding.
어? 고통의
As
조율인데
we
이거?
showed you earlier on the Sorceress, you can swap between
야
weapon
이거
sets on the fly
POE
as you use
2도
certain
원
skills.
느낌 어느 정도
One of the new
살리면서
features
갈
in
수
Path of
있겠는데
Exile
되게?
2's passive tree is that you can choose to have your passive tree change as you switch between weapon sets to take advantage of specific bonuses on the tree.
지금 이거
For the
보여진
Sorceress, you
시스템은
might want to
뭐냐면
change
내가
between
무기를
fire and lightning
스왑했을 때
specialization.
그 수합된 무기에 따라서
Or you could switch
저
between one
패시브
hand and
스킬
a two-hand
트리가
setup in order to be
바뀌는
able to block boss attacks
그런
while
시스템을
following up
알고
with heavy
있거든요.
hits from your bigger
저것도
mace.
상당히 좋은 거
Or perhaps you could have a full
그러니까
curse setup on
단순히
your witch to
어,
debuff
내 메인
enemies before
무기
switching to a chaos
뭐 내
degen
메인
build for
무기가 예를
maximum
들어서
damage.
칼이야. 그럼 그 칼만 쓰는 게 아니라 보조 무기를 뭐
If you want to
활을
stick with
쓰든
just one
해가지고
weapon set, you can
이제
just use
무기를
these
두 개를
specialization points as bonus
번갈아가면서
points to invest
활용하면서
however you like.
빌드를 좀 더
But creative players will find
확장시키는
plenty of
약간 그런
opportunities with this system.
개념이거든요 이게. 이것도 좀
You can
좋은 것
get
같아요.
weapon specialization points throughout the campaign from optional bosses and quests. For example, if I
이제
manage to defeat the
듀얼-
Crowbell, I'll get a weapon
듀얼
specialization
무기고네
book.
이거 완전히.
There are lots of other permanent boosts available from the campaign too. On the
이거
map, you can see icons that indicate
좀
the many
직관적으로
optional encounters you can
바뀌었다,
find.
이거.
Some of them have permanent
이제
character
액트.
boosts, and others have powerful
액트
items.
맵인데
If you're having trouble getting past a boss, it might be a good idea to explore and see what you can find.
좀 깔끔한데?
For example, if you defeat Blackjaw the Remnant, you'll gain a permanent increase to fire resistance.
오,
One of the most important finds are spirit bonuses. You can find the first one here in the canopy in Act 1. Defeat the boss in this area to acquire a permanent addition of spirit. The permanent buffs you gain from
근데
spirit are
생각보다
very
그렇게
powerful, and every class will find a use for
엄청
them.
오랜
So
시간
make sure
동안
you hunt down these
쳐가지고 보스를
upgrades.
잡고는
There's
그런
one in each
시스템은 아니네요.
act.
또.
Now we haven't even talked about the most important element of character progression,
재밌겠다,
items.
진짜.
That's why we're all here, right? Items in Path of Exile can be broken down into 4 rarity groups:
아이템.
normal, magic, rare, and unique.
노멀,
One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items.
액짤.
An orb of transmutation will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic
이제
item with one mod.
저
You can then apply an orb of
오브도
augmentation to add a second
이제
mod,
크래프팅하는
then use a
재료예요.
regal orb to add a
아이템의
third mod,
크래프팅하는 재료.
and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some
유형이
exalted
좀 더
orbs to add
약간
more
요즘
mods to your
느낌으로
rare
바뀐
to a
거네,
total of
이것도.
6 mods. One of the things we think is really important is to make these options available to
제작은
use
그대로
as you
들고
play.
오는구나.
All the items that add mods are much more common than they were in Path of Exile 1, so that you can use them throughout your campaign playthrough.
근데
We
그렇게
want you to
게임
find things on the ground that can be
자체가
crafted
느리지
into
않은데?
upgrades much
되게?
more frequently.
되게
As well as
스피드한데?
making the drop
뭔가?
rates on these items much more common, you can also get them by disenchanting unwanted gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an orb of transmutation, and by disenchanting rares,
이제
you can build
파편이
up to
없고
regal
그냥
orbs.
바로 옵으로 제공하네 아이템 판매했을
Another
때.
important area of crafting items in POE2 is sockets. Some items you find will have sockets that can have Ezomite runes placed in them that add more mods to the item. If I insert this glacial
맞아.
rune into my helmet, it will give extra
소켓에다가-
cold resistance. This is a great way to solve problems that you have with your build, like resistances or damage. If you find socketed
주얼은
items that you
그대로
don't have use
들고
for,
오는 건가?
you can take them to the
룬이라고
salvage bench in
명시했긴
town to
했는데.
work towards an artificer's orb. This will allow you to add sockets to your
분해.
existing items. Body armors and two-hand weapons can have up to 2
분해
sockets,
시스템.
while the rest of your armor and one-hand weapons can only have 1 socket. You can also salvage items with quality to create items like armor scraps or whetstones. These will allow you to increase the quality of your items for an up to 20% boost. If you don't want to disenchant or salvage your items, you can always sell them for gold. Gold can be used to buy items from vendors, and we've tried to do a lot to make sure that the items they have for sale are actually useful.
무기의 스킬
Every time you level up, they get more stock, so make sure to check back often.
근데 저게 소환수만 있을
Other
것
vendors
같지 않아요?
offer a gamble. Pay a flat amount of
오,
gold and you'll get a
갬블도
random
있어.
item of a specific type. This could be a great way to improve your
Wow.
gear, if you're lucky. Gold is also used to respec your passive skills. Take advantage of this system to experiment with your tree and rework it as required.
이제 이번 시즌
The
칼군
other thing you might
시즌에
want to use gold
나왔던
for is the
그런
currency
골드의
exchange.
활용도가
This allows you to
POE2의
exchange
전반적인
currency items
시스템으로
with other
깔리네요.
players on an open market
오,
in
합체
exchange for a
거래소도
small gold fee.
그대로 오네요.
Now, all items in Path of Exile are freely tradable. We never bind anything to your character except gold.
이제
Now,
패스오브엑자일은
most gear in
기본적으로
Path of
저
Exile 2 is randomly
기본
generated, but
커런시를
there's another type
활용해서
that
이제
is
아이템 거래를
uniques.
골드로 거래를
They are
하는 게 아니에요.
especially rare, each with a handcrafted set of unusual mods which can dramatically change a character's build. They're not just better rare items, they can do much stranger things that can fundamentally change your character. Corpse Wade will make any corpses you run through explode into clouds of poison. The Sands of Silk is a body armor that changes your dodge roll into a blink, morphing you into sand as you teleport past your foes. And of course, some uniques are just pure hits of dopamine, like Quill Rain, which just turns your bow attacks into full auto by doubling your
이거
attack speed.
단궁 아니야?
Each unique
단궁인데
is
저거?
something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use at endgame, even if you find them early on. And as you can see, every single unique item comes with custom art to match.
커스터마이징이 어느 정도
The
된다는
last
건가?
character progression system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension.
어센인가?
Starting in Act 2, you will come across Ascension trials, tests that you must complete to unlock your Ascension class. We'll explain these trials soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character. Each class has access to 3 Ascendancy classes, but at the start of early access,
이제
only 2 per
직업
class will be available.
전직이 나오네요.
Ascendancy classes are unique to each
직업군별로
character class, so choose
총 두
wisely.
가지의
They can
전직이
drastically
나오네요.
affect how you build your character. As a sorceress, you could become a Stormweaver, a master of the elements. Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell. With Strike twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage. And going deeper into the tree, you can make all your damage types apply Shock.
이게
Make a Shock
이제
build from any
그
skill.
소서리스의 전직.
Alternatively, you could become a
일반
Chronomancer
패시브도
and
그냥
command
다르고.
time itself. She literally has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze.
우와.
Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation
뭐야, 이거.
abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location,
시간을
resetting her
거스르는데,
life and
시간을
mana back to what it
거스르는데.
was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns and cast all her spells again. On the Warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer
이번엔
or the
워리어네요.
Titan.
워리어
The
전직.
Warbringer channels the might of his ancestors to gain tremendous power. Using Answered Call, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to each of your totems. With
아,
Jade
확실히
Heritage, you can encase your body in a protective
워리어의
layer that absorbs
타격감
all
무시
damage until
못하겠다.
it breaks.
화려하다 이것도. 되게.
Warcaller's Bellow allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies. And with Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldowns of your war cries.
함성 특화 직업인가 보다.
Let all that anger out. The Titan class is all about hitting big. With Earthbreaker, every slam is a chance to create an aftershock.
얘는 약간 슬램.
With Crushing
슬램류의
Impacts, every
특화된
hit becomes a
직업이네.
crushing blow, which will allow you to stun your enemies with
우와.
ease. With Surprising Strength, you can take advantage of stunned enemies to deal
밀리는
40% more
이렇게까지도
damage.
만들 수 있다는 걸 보여주는 느낌인데.
As a ranger, you
Diablo
might choose to be a
보고 있나?
Deadeye, an expert markswoman who can take down
Deadeye?
foes with style. With endless munitions, every attack gains an extra projectile. With Gathering Winds, she gains a small increase to movement speed with every attack. But be careful, she loses them
아,
when
되게
getting hit.
빠른데? 아, 진짜
With Eagle
재밌겠다.
Eyes, she will never miss, allowing you to stop wasting all those passive points on accuracy.
진짜 맛있겠다 게임이.
Alternatively, you could become a Pathfinder, the master of flasks and poison. She can choose from one of several throwable concoctions, allowing her to spend her flask charges to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage. A bleeding concoction will make your enemies bleed, while a fulminating one can shock your enemies, allowing you to do extra damage.
얘는 뭐에 던지네?
Contagious Contamination allows her to spread poisons between her foes, while Overwhelming Toxicity doubles the number
얘는
of
약간
stacks they can be
뭔가
infected by.
원소랑 독에
Running
약간
Assault
특화된
allows her to move much more quickly while
직업군이다.
firing, while Relentless Pursuit makes her totally immune to being
Assault.
slowed by enemies. The Witch can ascend into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage. As an
이번엔
Infernalist,
위치.
she can summon a loyal Hellhound companion.
야,
The
서머너야?
Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as
Hellhound.
taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets
지금 여기
hit.
보여지는 요
With Pyromantic
약간
Pact, you
똥강아지.
can turn your mana into
불똥강아지.
Infernal Flame. As you cast more spells, the flame builds up, and if it overflows, you'll take damage. Using Bringer of
만화가
Flame,
이제
you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up.
또 바뀌네요.
While your
이거는.
Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies. She can also transform into a literal demon.
우와,
While in demon
아니,
form, she takes an
잠깐만.
increasing amount of damage,
변신을
but
하는데?
her cast speed and
데몬으로?
damage increase rapidly as well.
데모닉
So if you're planning on transforming into a demon, make sure you stack a lot of life recovery.
날라다니네.
She can also become a blood mage,
그럼
a
저런 거는
master
이제
of
또
life
저런
and energy.
전용템이 따로 있을 거란
All
말이죠.
blood mages must pay the
POE2
price
특성상.
of making skills cost life as well as mana. But in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly
얘는
gain
약간
back that life.
피를 다스리는 그런 건가?
With Crimson Power, she can gain large amounts of extra life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life back as well. Once you've got a significant amount of life, you can use Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage. A monk who is in tune with the elements
이번엔
might become an
몬크.
invoker. With Elemental Expression, the invoker will create waves of elemental power each time
원소
he does a
특화된
critical strike.
몽크인가 보네.
With Faith as a choice, you gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield. Choose between I am the blizzard or I am the thunder to specialize in cold or lightning.
I am thunder.
And I shall rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar.
원소 특화가 맞네.
Each time you apply a status ailment to an enemy, you gain unbound fury. When you have enough, transform into an avatar to deal way more damage and inflict even more elemental ailments. Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead. The Acolyte of Chayula can exchange their mastery of spirit for darkness, a resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal damage. The Shroud of Darkness will protect you from all damage incoming, but if you take Grasp of the Void, you will deal extra chaos damage from all the darkness you have. Their Dark Pact offers greatly increased resistances to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only happen instantly, but apply to their energy shield as well. Another node you can take is Waking Dream, which allows you to see into the domain of the Breach Demons. There you will see the Flames of Chayula that can be taken to gain life, mana, and damage. The Mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you? You might choose to become a Witch Hunter. Obsessive Rituals will give you a sorcery ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in exchange for less defense against attacks. With Zealous Inquisition, your enemies have a 10% chance to explode on death. The chance is doubled against demons and undead. With Judge, Jury, and Executioner, your initial hit against enemies can deal up to 30% of their life and damage if you're lucky. This is great for hunting powerful bosses. And with Witchbane, you can break your enemy's concentration, preventing them from casting spells as often as they would usually do. You could also choose to become a Gemling Legionnaire, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems directly in your flesh. Integrated Efficiency will give you extra skill slots. Thermatological Infusion gives you extra maximum resistances as you socket more and more support gems. Adaptive Capability allows you to use any color of gem without worrying about attributes, while Crystalline Potential adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socketed into your character. So those are the Ascendancy classes for the start of Early Access. But one thing we haven't talked about yet is how you ascend in the first place. Ascension in Path of Exile 2 requires completion of one of the Great Trials, which you'll find as you progress through the campaign. Each one is associated with one of the major cultures of Rayclast. Located in the Vasteri Plains are the Maraketh, a culture of rich tales and brutal traditions, who must do whatever it takes to survive in the desert. The highest position in Maraketh culture is a Sekima, and it is not a title given freely. All aspirants must complete the Trial of the Sekimas, a grueling gauntlet that will test their strength, will, cunning, and patience. To enter, a warrior of the Maraketh must prove their worth by trapping the soul of a djinn in a coin, and you are no different. Once you have earned your coin, it may be placed on the relic altar to begin the trial.
뭐야 이거는 신규 콘텐츠인가?
In the Trial of the Sekimas, each room has its own challenges to overcome. In this room, each rare monster you kill will send its blood to the chalice in the center of the room. Once the chalice is filled, you will be able to proceed. While fighting monsters in the trial, you will need to be very careful. Each hit will not only hurt you, but will damage your honor. The monsters are well telegraphed, so that you can avoid their attacks, but if you run out of honor, you will fail the trial and need to find another coin in order to try again. It is a good idea to make sure that you are well prepared before challenging the Trial of the Sekimas. After each room, you will be rewarded. In this case, you have been given a key that can be used to unlock chests later in the trial. Once you have claimed your reward, you will be shown a map of the rest of the floor and may choose how you wish to proceed. Which challenges would you like to face, and which rewards do you want to claim? Some rooms are more dangerous, afflicting you with debuffs that will persist for the entire trial. For example, entering this room will afflict you with Spiked Shell that will cause all monsters in the rest of the trial to have 50% increased life. You will want to take care if you choose such a path. There are many different challenges and rewards as you journey through the trial. Deadly traps, waves of monsters, and strange artifacts will test your honor. As you progress, you'll be able to gain boons from the djinn, which will help you on your journey. For example, the Sekima's cloak will revive you once if you die, giving you a second shot at a run. One of the rewards you may find is Sacred Water, an extremely valuable and treasured resource to the djinn and the Maraketh. Trading it with the djinn will allow you to receive many benefits. You can recover honor, gain additional boons, or remove afflictions. At the end of the floor, you'll find a powerful boss which will truly test your limitations. In order to ascend, you will need to defeat him.
뭔가 성역인 것 같은데.
Having defeated the boss, you've earned the right to ascend. But first, the loot. The keys you have found may be used to open the various treasures in the vault at the end of the floor. We only have a single bronze key, so we'll just have to open one of these small chests. If you want to open the better ones, you'll need silver or
아니
gold keys.
라비인가?
Let's use the Altar of Ascendancy. Your first ascension will allow you to pick your class and grant you 2
라비가
points to
이런
use
식으로
on the tree.
바뀌었구나.
Now there are
라비가
more
뭐냐면
floors
이제
and many
전직,
more rewards that can be found
캐릭터
within the trial
전직하러
of the
가는 거.
Secumus, but we'll save that for the
를
section
이제
on the
라비라고
endgame.
하거든요.
For now, let's talk about the second
라비네,
ascendancy trial,
이게.
the Trial of Chaos. In Path of Exile 2, you can choose whichever trial you like to earn your ascension. Each culture on Rayclast had their own methods to ascend. If the Trial of the Secumus is not your kind of playstyle, or you're finding it too difficult, you could try another. You can gain all your ascension points from just one, or mix and match them. It's up to you. For early access, we will have 2 trials as options, with a 3rd trial coming later for the full release. While exploring the Vaal jungle, you'll discover the Temple of Chaos. Before the Vaal embraced the science of corruption, their civilization worshipped chaos. This ancient trial was once used by the Vaal to test their high priests. A high priest of the Vaal must show willingness to risk everything to gain power. Entry to the trial requires a token from a strange entity known only as the Trial Master. For those in which he sees potential, he shall inscribe an ultimatum. Many have attempted these trials in search of greatness. Most have perished. By the odds? Before you begin each chamber, the Trial Master will offer you a reward and a choice. Choose one of 3 tribulations to affect you through the rest of the trial. These modifiers might beef up the monsters, curse the player, or add environmental hazards like turrets or trap runes.
POE 1에 있던
In this
웬만한
case, we'll
시즌
be picking shocking
콘텐츠들을
turrets.
다 유입하는 거라. 엔드게임 자체가
As you enter the room, the Trial Master will fill
적지가
it with
않아요,
hazards to test
콘텐츠로.
your commitment. In this case, you must destroy all the monsters that fill the room, while dealing with the lightning projectiles from the shocking turrets.
뭔가 게임 맛이 나는데 진짜. 단순히 그냥 필드맵에 몬스터가 있고 거기 가서 내가 잡는 그런 느낌이 아닌데 그냥. 결전이 끝나면
After
다시
each
와서
room, you will need to make a
선택하고 그런
choice.
느낌인가?
Take the rewards you have earned so far, or go double or nothing. Increase your rewards, but take on more risk. Each tribulation you add is minor on its own, but they quickly stack on
결전이
top of
이제
each other and
지형을
can become
계속
overwhelming.
이동하면서 진행되나 보네.
There are many
이런
types
거는
of chambers in
좋지.
the trial. Each will test your resolve in different ways. This one simply requires you survive for a certain amount of time. Another requires you to escort the stone idol through the level as elevators full of monsters descend to attack you.
단순히 한 공간에서
Should you be able to get through the
반복
first 3
노가다하는
chambers, you will
거
face your first boss.
디아블로4의
The order of the bosses is random,
뭐야,
and
옥두
combined
먹으러
with the
가는데
tribulations you have
지옥
selected,
끌고
the fight will never feel the same.
재미없더라고 저. 졸려. 계속 한
After
곳에서
defeating the
몬스터
boss, you may claim
계속
your
잡는
rewards. Of course, there are the items, but you also gain the right to ascend. If you already did the Trial of the Secumus, then you can claim 2 more points to add to your Ascendancy class. Now, it's possible to go much deeper. There are more bosses, rewards, and risks to take, but we'll talk more about that when we get to endgame. So how about we talk about that now? So far, we've only been showing you footage from the campaign, but some people would argue that the endgame is where the game truly begins.
캠페인은 총 액트
Something that
6까지
happens
있고
almost every
그
time a new
이후에
action RPG launches is
엔드게임.
people saying,
맵
there isn't enough
빙빙하다.
in-game content. Well,
액트
we want to make sure that in
6까지는
POE2,
괜찮은데?
people don't feel that way. And we actually only changed our development
이제
priority
액트
for this recently.
10장까지는 너무 많았어.
The first 3 acts of POE2 already take around 25 hours to complete if
액트
you're a new
1에서
player.
액트 3까지는
This is already a pretty significant campaign.
25시간.
On the other hand, people spend hundreds of hours in endgame each league. We realized that finishing the rest of the campaign for early access was actually a bad idea. Instead of having acts 4 to 6 in early access, we could concentrate on endgame and make that great. For new players, a
얼리때는
25-hour
액트
campaign is
4,
already a
5,
huge
6을
game with lots of content.
액트
But for
후반부를
existing action
제거를 하고
RPG players,
엔드게임을
what you
바로
mostly care
진행을
about
할
is
수
all the
있다.
in-game
그렇게
challenges to
이야기해요.
overcome. So several months ago, we switched the entire development team's focus over to making in-game content. At the start of early access, there will be 50 bosses and around 400 monster types. But the great thing is, that the rest of the game is like 80% there. We'll be adding content to roughly double the size of the game during early access and into release. Now, in order to make the endgame happen at the same character level as what it would be after we added the rest of the acts, we've added a second difficulty level called Cruel, where you repeat the campaign with all the monsters and bosses leveled up. And of course, new rewards. You can kind of think of it as like a new game plus. It's also a lot faster to get through the content the second time as your clear speed increases. That will take you to around level 65, where the endgame begins. Once we add the remaining 3 acts, we'll be removing Cruel difficulty, so you'll progress straight from the end of Act 6 to endgame. But what is the endgame? To explain that, I'll hand over to Mark. He can tell you all about it.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, one thing that Path of Exile is known for is having a lot of distinct endgame content to choose between. Each endgame mechanic needs to have its own progression system, areas, bosses, rewards, and player power that can only be gained from that content. We are going to be adding a lot more over time, but for Path of Exile 2 we decided to start with 7 distinct systems you can progress through. This is the Atlas, and it serves as the core of the endgame for Path of Exile 2. It's infinite and expands in all directions. Now, we are not going to spoil the plot too much here, but corruption from the beast has blighted the land, and your objective is to help fight it. In the center of the Atlas you will find the Ziggurat, a temple in which the Vaal research the fundamentals of space and time. Here, we can open portals to nearby locations and begin cleansing corruption and finding resources. In order to power the portal device, we will need waystones. Each waystone has a tier which will determine the level of the monsters that you will face. To go to an area, simply click one that is adjacent to an area that you have already completed. Insert the waystone and click Traverse. Portals will open, allowing you and your party to travel to the area you have selected. All the areas in the endgame feel distinct from the locations in the campaign, and we have dialed the randomization up to 11. The monster packs you will face in each map are totally random, and the combination of them can lead to some very interesting combat situations. There are over 400 monster types in early access, and they have a lot of varied and interesting abilities. Depending on which combinations you face, you might find some serious challenges. In order to cleanse the corruption from the area, you will need to defeat all the powerful rare and unique enemies in it. Once you have done that, the area will be marked as completed and you will be able to travel past it to progress deeper into the world. If you die, then the map can no longer be run, and you will have to find another way around to get to the areas behind it. There are also all kinds of other random encounters you might run into as you play maps. One such encounter are precursor artifacts. These are ancient, corrupting monuments that irradiate the monsters around them. The monsters that feed off the corruption are drawn to their power. If you defeat the monsters and cleanse the artifact, you will get a powerful temporary buff. Some of the buffs make you faster, others rain lightning or fire around you, and some even give you increased experience or help you find better items. You can also find strong boxes. These enigmatic chests guard piles of treasure, but are always a trap. Monsters lie in wait to attack you the moment you open it, and the boxes often have mechanisms to unleash powerful spells or dangerous debuffs. There are different types of strong boxes containing different items, and you can even use your currency items to craft them on the fly, so you can optimize the contents. But be careful of opening one you can't handle.
금고로 몬스터가 주변에서 몰려오는구나.
Sometimes you'll discover monsters frozen in essences, solidified crystalline corruption. These dangerous monsters can be broken free. If you defeat them, the essence they drop can be used to upgrade normal items to magic items with a guaranteed mod from a category.
이거는 뭐야?
For example, we could use this one on some boots to ensure a movement speed mod. Rarely, essences will also drop that allow you to upgrade magics to rares, adding the guaranteed mod.
매직 에센스가 따로 있는 있었고요. 무조건 레어템으로 만들어주는 게 아니고.
This is incredibly powerful, since it allows you to get a second deterministic mod in your crafting projects. Combining these with the currencies that are commonly found in Rayclast for modifying items, and we can get a very nice pair of boots indeed. Waystones, like all items, can also be crafted using your currency items. Adding prefix mods will improve the rewards,
이제
while
지도가
suffix
아니라
mods increase danger.
웨이스톤이라고 이야기를
The
하네요.
more dangerous a
맵이
map
아니고.
is, the more
Waystone.
waystones will drop. Adding mods to your waystones is key to progressing to higher tiers and sustaining them, but it will require you to take on larger challenges. There are a variety of factors you have to consider when crafting your waystones. Some maps will have higher density, some lower, some have more magic and rare chests, or monsters, some are more linear, and others more open. Make sure you explore and think about what makes certain maps good if you want to maximize your returns. As you cleanse corruption from higher and higher tiers of the Atlas, you will gain points that you can spend in the Atlas tree. This tree allows you to juice the danger and rewards of all areas in the endgame. You could increase the number of monsters, the number of rares, the number of precursor artifacts or strongboxes, even the quantity of item
기본 캐릭터
drops.
패시브 스킬트리랑 다른
As you explore the
개념입니다.
in-game world map, you'll notice various different biomes, from snow-capped mountains to dense jungle valleys. Most maps are restricted to certain biomes. As you continue to explore deeper into the Atlas, there are all sorts of things to discover. These cities are constructed by different peoples of Rayclast and have specific items that can be found there. These strange structures marked on the map don't appear to do anything for now. Perhaps you'll work out how to use them later. You might find unique maps like Untainted Paradise, an
Unique
undisturbed
map도 이렇게 따로
island full of
저런 식으로
beasts
꾸며놨구나.
that give an
아,
extreme
재밌겠다.
amount of experience.
되게
You may
게임에
even find a
신경을 많이
lonely
쓰는 게
man
보이네.
just enjoying his
디테일이.
retirement who will give you a unique item for free. In addition, you can find special areas that would make a good spot to set up camp. Clear these areas of their hostile inhabitants, and you'll be able to claim them as your own hideout. You can decorate your hideout as you see fit and invite various NPCs to join you there to create your own personal base of operations.
이건
A great
은신처를
tool for
얻을 수 있는
exploration
그런
are
건가 보네.
towers. These mysterious precursor constructs are dotted around the Atlas. Completing the tower will reveal a large area around it, allowing you to scout out your next challenge. There are lots of things to find, so keep looking. Some sections of your Atlas are
이제
influenced by
단순히
corruption.
이제
This adds extra
내가
modifiers
나온
to the maps in
웨이스톤에
the
따라서
region,
진행을
increasing
하는 게
difficulty
아니라
and rewards.
맵을
Here,
점점
slave monsters in
밟혀가면서
close
새로운
proximity to each other will cause the
웨이스톤을 얻을 수
vestiges of
있는
corruption within them
그런
to
길을
merge
뚫는
together,
것
forming
같네요.
powerful
개념이.
and grotesque abominations. You may have noticed while looking at the Atlas that some of the areas have these icons above them. The icon indicates that the area contains some kind of special encounter. This icon indicates that the area has a powerful boss. Because only 1 in 4 maps contain a map
얘는
boss,
이제
we are
음식
able to
보스네.
make them very powerful and very rewarding. These bosses come from the campaign, but have had their difficulty increased with changes to AI and some of their abilities. It's worth noting that because you can see where the bosses are, you can choose to take them on or avoid them. If you do choose to hunt bosses though, then you will be rewarded with special points for the boss hunting section of the Atlas skill tree. The points here will allow you to specialize in boss killing, giving you much greater rewards for defeating them. For each different type of content in the endgame, we are adding specialized trees in order to make it so you don't feel the need to respec your points when you change between different types of content. We will be showing you 7 of these by the end of this presentation, so there is still a lot more to come. Bosses are not the only icon you will see on the Atlas. Let's take a look at one of the endgame systems, Breach. If you played POE1, you might be familiar with Breach. For POE2, we have created sequels to several POE1 leagues. While the mechanic is familiar, the monsters, bosses, rewards, and progression are all new. A breach is a tear in the fabric of reality. Opening it will allow you to see the demons and otherworldly monstrosities that lie in wait on this other plane of existence. By engaging with a breach, you'll create a bridge between their world and Rayclast. In order to keep the breach open, you will need to kill the demons that pour forth. The faster you can kill the monsters, the more monsters you will fight, and the more loot you will find. You can also find clasped hands that will open and drop more items if you run over them. These can be a good boost to the rewards of the breach, so keep an eye out. One of the rewards that you may find while fighting monsters from Breach are tablets. Tablets are special items that can be used with precursor towers to add more encounters to the Atlas. Breaches will drop breach tablets. Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower. This makes all the content in the Atlas self-sustaining. Want to do more breaches? Find the tablets, add them to your towers, get more breaches, getting more tablets. Soon your Atlas will be covered in otherworldly domains. In addition, like all items in PoE, you can craft them. Use your currency to add mods to your tablets, allowing you to upgrade all the breaches in range. Tablets can have up to 2 mods. These mods do things like adding extra rare monsters, extra clasped hands, or even monster density of breaches, allowing you to keep them open longer. Often you will find multiple towers near to each other with overlapping areas of effect.
잠시만요.
This can allow you to really juice the mechanic by stacking them.
지금은 어때요? 지금은?
In your fight to hold the breach demons at bay, you may want to use the powers of their world against them. Each in-game mechanic always has player power that can
아직도 그런가요? 아직도?
that mechanic, and breach is no different. In breach, you will find catalysts, items that can increase the quality of rings and amulets by improving specific mobs. You can also find breach rings, a special base.
지금 제가 컴퓨터를 새로 맞춰가지고 지금 방송 세팅이 아직 제대로 안 돼 있어요. 아 이제 영화 작게 달려요?
Giving you some good motivation to face the demon hordes. In addition, each endgame mechanic needs to have a pinnacle endgame encounter. While killing breach monsters, you may find breach splinters. Collect enough of these and you'll be able to create a breach stone. Using a
크게 들려도 못 알아들어서 괜찮기나? 이제 방송 보시면서 이거 조금 불편하다 하는 거 있으면 말씀해 주세요. 오랜만에 오셨네. 그린티님. 제가 오늘 컴퓨터를 새로 받아가지고 지금 세팅이 전혀 안 돼 있거든요. 기존 세팅 그대로 옮기지 못해가지고 지금 마이크, 모니터, 본체 싹 다 갈았습니다. 이번에 그래픽 카드는 4070 Ti 슈퍼예요. 이번에 세팅하는데 돈 좀 많이 들었어요. 아 모니터 새로 사셨어요? 저는 이번에 한번 QHD 한번 하려고 40인치 와이드 모니터로 바꿨습니다. 지금 방송 송출되는 화면이 그 해상도가 조금 불편하진 않으세요?
These points will make breaches and the breach domain even harder, but will give you more rewards. The small nodes will increase the difficulty of the twisted domain, while the large nodes have more specific bonuses. For example, this node adds more clasped hands to your breaches.
아 4대3으로 나와요? 4대3?
Get some more points and you can
4대3으로 나오면 안 되는데.
double the number of splinters you get from clasped hands and inflict you with a mysterious debuff. In order to earn more points, you will need to defeat Zesht at a higher difficulty, and some rewards from Zesht can only be found by increasing the difficulty.
지금 보는 영상이요? 이거 지금 그 QHD 해상도로 바뀌어가지고 약간 애매한 비율로 나오는 것 같은데? 잠시만요, 제가 한번 확인 좀 해볼게요.
If you encounter this symbol on the atlas, then you know that the area contains ritual altars. Ritual altars demand tribute. Every monster you slaughter
그러네.
to the altar. After the sacrifice, touch it to
이거 잠깐만 수정하고 올게요. 빠르게 잠깐 방송 커트했다가 빠르게 수정 좀.
Feared by the Asmeri people, he is said to have brought eternal darkness to the Wildwood. We won't show the encounter, but just like Breach, there are a range of unique items you can get for defeating him, and you will gain points in the ritual section of the Atlas tree. Some maps have been touched by insanity. A mysterious entity has taken a special interest in you. Step through the looking glass and you will find your nightmares